Thanks.
Is the light supposed to be on at the back? It's like a torch around the back.
Yes, yeah, it's on.
Yeah.
So are we being filmed?
No,
Yeah, that's just Facebook. We have a couple of people in Europe watching it.
but it's facing that way.
Oh, right.
It's all right.
That's what I was wondering what
You ready to start, Bob? Because it's already going.
Somebody's switched on, is it?
Yeah, 5 minutes ago.
Hey. Hey.
I'm having kid. That's what she was saying tonight when I was watching. The cat was sleeping there.
I think he does.
Okay, you all know each other? Or you?
Say the names.
I'm Carl.
Moira.
Tony.
Tony.
Melanie.
Salila.
Robin.
Kat.
And you all know what it's all about. What we call, for want of a better term, non-duality. So, understand right from the start that I can't teach you anything and I can't tell you anything. All I can do is point toward and ask you to look to where we're pointing to see for yourself. Because that's the natural understanding, if you recognise it for yourself. Not what somebody's told you, or not what you've read. But you can use what somebody's told you and what you've read to test it out when you try it for yourself. And the other way, can't teach. I can only point toward and ask you to look to where we're pointing to see for yourself. When you see what we're pointing to, the non-duality, the one without a second, you realise that nobody can ever teach you anything and nobody can ever tell you anything. Because in actuality there is nobody. It's just the one essence that's patterning, shaping, forming and expressing as everything. Another way I put it, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not talking to any mind. I'm not talking to that mind entity you might believe yourself to be. I'm talking to that I am that I am. Not the thought or the word I am, but the sense of presence that translates and expresses through the mind as the thought I am. Just to this, nothing else. So if you think I'm having a go at you or something other like that, if you don't like what's being said or pointed to, realise it's not the body mind I'm talking to, it's that sense of presence, the knowing that you are. Now, of all the different scriptures over the ages, the basic essence of them has pointed to this. But it gets obscured with people coming along and tearing it apart, adding to it, putting this the concept and that concept and idea on it. And it becomes watered down and seemingly not there in its natural, uncontaminated, pure state. Hinduism, for instance, they call it Advaita. And Advaita translated means non-duality. And they try and describe non-duality by saying it's one without a second, not two. And they put that one without a second on because even the idea of one implies that there could be other than one. So to cancel out that idea, they say it's one without a second. And that's what needs to happen, to recognise that that non-dual one without a second is all that there is. The Buddhists will tell you the same thing, using different terms. Well, they'll put it as non-conceptual, ever-fresh presence awareness. And they'll add on to that just this, nothing else. Again, it is its one essence. Non-conceptual, ever-fresh presence awareness. Just this, nothing else. Anyone who is not aware of being present right now, you say, I am present. Anyone who is unaware right now, no, you'll say, I am aware. So recognise you already and always have been that presence awareness. But it's lost sight of with the other concepts, words and ideas, images we put on. All the other traditions, I point to the same thing, it's that one without a second. Christianity, for instance, I'll say it's omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience. They're not talking about three things, but three aspects of the one. And again, look at that. Omnipresence. Anyone who is not present? Omnipotence. Realise it's that one power. Not mind power, not thought power, not this power or that power, but the one power that's patterning, shaping, forming this cosmos, this universe. And omniscience. Having a look at it all, they say it's omniscience means it's one intelligence. And see the way it's patterning, shaping and forming these bodies and all the nerves, sinews and everything else everything on this, in this manifestation is supplying, it is suffused with an innate intelligence. So you'll see it's pointed to in all the scriptures. Now going back to Hinduism, where it's saying, another way they put it in the 5 factors. Existence, consciousness, bliss. 3 of them, the other 2, nama rupa. Another way of putting that, being aware of the stillness or the silence in which is the base in which all this manifestation appears in. Being aware of that stillness, knowing the stillness, recognising the stillness, realising that everything is appearing on the space, and the things that appear on it are pattern, shapes and forms. They're the nama rupa, the name and form. So the name and form is what they call, when they talk about this manifestation, they'll say, this manifestation is Maya. It is an illusion. It's an illusionary manifestation. And it's a phenomenal manifestation. Look up your dictionary, look up the word phenomena. Definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. So they're pointing to it directly there and then. This manifestation is a phenomenal manifestation. It's appearance only. It's only seemingly so. And that's talking about also that's pointing to everything that is the name and form. That's your body, my body, all the bodies, all the insects, everything in this manifestation. The stars, the planets and everything are Maya, illusion, appearing on that basic stillness. Now the basic stillness or emptiness is what the Buddha called a cognising emptiness. It's not that we are cognising the emptiness, it's that emptiness, the basic stillness, has the capacity or innate intelligence of cognising. And he pointed it out clearly. He says emptiness is form. All these pattern shapes and forms are appearances, phenomenal appearances on that emptiness. And he turned it round the other way and said the form can be nothing other than the emptiness. So that's why I can't teach you anything or can't tell you anything. All those forms are empty. And what can one emptiness say to another emptiness? Can't say anything at all. Can't teach you anything at all. But in speaking about it, there may be a resonance in that which is hearing it. Might resonate and say, that sounds true, or that fits, or that's what is, and start to cognise it himself. And everybody has had a taste of this down through their life, where everything's fallen into place. Things have just worked out nicely and effortlessly, where there hasn't been all the conceptual imaging and fears and anxieties and stress going on. But it's come and it's gone, it hasn't lasted long. And that's what it needs to be when they say recognise. Recognise it, so it needs to be cognised again and again until it becomes the obvious and the actual. And there's an absolute certainty that you know the basic thing that I told you. I am that. That is all there is. That's the Mahaveka of the great word, I am that. But people hear that and they don't understand what we're getting at. They think it's me or this, that or that. But that is the totality. It's all there is. And we know that in our language. Because don't you say that's a chair, that's a carpet, that's Tony, that's Robin, that's me, that's you, that's the light, that's the mirror, that's the tree, that's the flower. We know that in the language everything is that. And what has happened? We've discriminated with the word, put labels on it. That is the chair, that is me, that's the human form, that's this, that and the other. But you can't get away from the basic fact of it all. Everything is that. So we've taken ourselves to be this body-mind entity. And we've never questioned it. And the energy of belief has gone in it. From our schools, our parents, our society, our nation, all talk about, all labels and words about it, ever. But when you understand the word is not the thing, we've got words on everything. The word's not the thing. Take the word water. Can you drink the word? Can you swim in the word? Can you drown in the word? Can you wash it? You can't, so it's not the thing. Take the word fire. Can you cook with it? Can you warm yourself with the word? Can you eat it? You can't. So the word is not the thing. So what's this word, I or me, that we've taken ourselves to be? Maybe when you investigate you realise that I or me, those words, are not what you actually are. And have a look at that. What's it tell you in the Bible? In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God. The Word was God. And then realise all things were made by Him with by the Word. And there was nothing made that was made. So everything is the Word. And realise this. When did you begin? You'll say, I began at birth. But can any one of you actually remember your birth? You can't. Why? Because you had no words when you were born. You couldn't say I was born on such and such a date, only what you've been told later on. You had no words. And realising that every word you've ever spoken and ever likely to speak has been picked up along the way. And you're still picking up words to this day. You don't know every word that's in the dictionary. You learn new words as you know. And you can't say you began at birth because you don't remember. And you didn't really begin until you learnt words. So that means you were 9 months in the womb, you were 2 years, around about a year or 2 years, before you acquired or learnt any words. Somewhere around that age, it's not strictly on that, some can be earlier, some a bit later. But when you started acquiring words, that's when life began for you. As it says in the beginning was the word. And realise, without that word, you were still a little baby, a little child. Before that, a little fetus, a little embryo. And before that, the sperm in your father and the ovum in your mother. And before that, you were the essence of the food and the prana of the breath taken by your father and your mother. So it's all the different shapes and forms are come about. The nama rupa. And when it becomes in the body-mind, we take ourselves to be real. We've taken ourselves to be a person. We learnt that word person. But where did that word person come from? Doesn't it come from a word persona, an ancient language? Persona meaning the mask. Pointing out we've got this conceptual image on ourselves, a mask, that we take ourselves to be. This person is what I am. But are you a mask? Are you a conceptual image? What are you without the conceptual image? What were you when you, the first couple of years of your life, when you didn't have the conceptual image? You were living, you were breathing, your heart beating, hair and fingernails growing, food being digested. You were growing, you were changing constantly. And the 9 months in the womb before that you were doing it. So you recognise that that life essence has been going on before it was recognised in you. But when you reach the age of about 2 or 2.5, what happens? Fussing around your parents, the parents start to teach you words. Saying, you little Johnny, you little Billy, you this, that and the other. And you start to reason. The capacity of reasoning doesn't start in you till you're about 2.5 or 3. And when that capacity of reasoning starts, you learn words. You learn words like I and me. Your parents, a school teacher. I, when they say, you little Johnny, you learn words, I am little Johnny. This is I or me. And so that's when the sense of separation comes about, when we learn words. Up till that point, you can't say you're separate from anything. You can't say you're a person, an individual, or anything at all without the words. But now, you're reasoning, I am little Johnny. And you look out there and see that chair or table out there, which I don't know what it is, it doesn't fit little Johnny. So that's not me. That's not I. So that's when the sense of separation comes about. And with that sense of separation comes insecurity and vulnerability. From then on, because we can't see ourselves as the chair, the carpet or anything else out there, it doesn't fit. We feel vulnerable about it, insecure, we don't know what it can do to us or anything about it. So that sense of vulnerability and insecurity comes about. Sense of separation. And that's what's grown ever since, that sense of separation individually, and the personality. All sorts of concepts and words added onto it ideas and images with the way life is flowing. So now we've got this conceptual image about ourselves. I'm Bob, the Australian, the good fella, had a bad childhood, I was abused, I was unhappy, I was depressed, I was jealous or envious. All these concepts are added onto that I thought and form a conceptual image, a conceptual image. And the concept is a mental construct. It's not the actual thing. I've taken that image to be real. This is what I am. I'm Bob, the Australian, the good fella. That's what I believe myself to be. And that conceptual image becomes a reference point, the self-centre. Everything revolves around that I, self-centre, and the ego. That's all that the ego is, a conceptual image. And we got this ego and we're told we've got to deflate it, we've got to stamp on it, we've got to kill it, we do all sorts of things. And very few of them will tell you that it's a fiction. It doesn't even exist, so how are you going to stamp on it? How are you going to kill it? How are you going to do anything with it at all? Except recognise it for what it is, a conceptual image. And above all, it's a dead image, because it's based on past events and experiences, not what is right now. You're not forming that mental image fresh in you right now. You're constantly relating to the image you had about yourself a moment ago, last week or last year. So we're constantly relating to a dead image. No wonder we can't keep up with life. Life leaves us behind because we're relating to that dead image. Can't keep up with it. So everything becomes relative to that image. It's related to that image. And don't you realise that relativity is dualism? It's duality. Relationship or relativity is dualism. And we point out, and the scriptures tell us, that there is absolutely no duality in non-duality. It's the one essence, patterning, shaping, forming and expressing as everything. There is only that. That is all there is. And that's what we're doing, and that's why we get into strife. All the fears, all the depressions, all the anxiety, stresses, guilt, shame, remorse, jealousy, envy, all our conceptual images, concepts and ideas come about because we've taken on the idea that I am this person, this separate entity, this individual. Now, you can't do much with I or me. Only two thoughts. But what we do, we're constantly believing in it and relating it to what is going on. But everything is the result of this belief in I or me. So you recognise that me is the cause of all my psychiatric problems, all my psychology, all my fear, all my anxiety, all my stress, all my guilt is because I'm relating to this me. Me is the cause of this believed in person. And the anxiety, the stress, the guilt, the shame, remorse are the effects of the cause me. Breaking it down to all its simplicity, isn't that what they call karma? Cause and effect. And I've got to work on my karma. If I don't do this and work on it for years and get nowhere. But what happened if I ask myself that simple question? Can there be a cause without the effect? If I'm not relating to the cause, can there be an effect without the cause? Not relating it to this me right here. Well, you don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to work that out. If you're not relating the cause to effect, there's nowhere for it to fixate on it, nowhere for it to stay. So it must fall away. And that is what happens when you do investigate it and recognise it. It falls itself away. So you recognise then that without the cause there can't be effect, that karma is a fiction. It never was there, never will be there, or never could be there. It never happened. So wouldn't it be imperative that I had a look at this and investigate it and see if this is so or not? Investigate this me and see if it really has any substance or any independent nature. See if it can stand on its own. How would I do that? Well, I'd look along these lines. I'm seeing right now and I'm hearing right now. I'll ask you, isn't that a fact? Anyone who is not seeing, anyone who's not hearing right now? No, you realise I'm seeing and I'm hearing. And I ask myself this, does my eye tell me I see? And I realise my eye is not saying, look at this, Bob, look at that. My eye can't tell me anything at all. It's got no words, it's got no voice. It's got no sound, it's just there. It is the instrument through which the seeing's happening. And that instrument is translated by the thought I see. The same with the hearing. Hearing's happening through the ears, but my ear's not saying, look at this, Bob, look at that. Hey, listen to this, Bob, listen to that. But it is the instrument through which the hearing's happening. And it's translated by the thought I am. So the seeing's happening, the hearing's happening, thought comes up, I see and I hear. The next question is, looking along those lines, can this thought I see actually see? I believe the seeing's happening, the thing happening through the thought I see, but can the thought I see actually see? Well, shut your eyes and look around the room and see what you can see with a thought with your eyes closed. You realise you can't see anything at all with a thought. You can picture images in your head, but they're not when the actual, I'm talking about the actual seeing and what's in the room or anywhere else. All you'll see with your eyes closed is the darkness behind the lids. So you realise that the thought I see cannot see. This conceptual image that I believe to be me thinks it's seeing, but it can't see. The image can't. Put your hands over your ears, see what you can hear with the ears muffled or covered over. You realise you can't hear anything when the ears are blocked down. So you realise also that the thought I hear can't hear. Anybody who is unaware right now? You realise, no, I'm not unaware. So if you're not unaware, you must be aware. You don't have to try and grasp a thing called awareness or put a shape and form a conceptual image on it. The actual knowing that you're not unaware is right with you right now. The thought I see can't see, the thought I hear can't hear. The thought I choose, we've got our idea we choose our thoughts. But why would you have an unhappy or miserable or sad thought or jealous or envious thought if you could choose a thought? Anybody choose to be that way? So the thought I choose can't choose. So you realise this thought up entity can't see, can't hear, can't choose, can't do anything at all. It has no substance and has no independent nature. What substance has a thought got? Where can it stand? Is it any static point where you say it starts? And does it stay there, or aren't thoughts constantly changing all the time? So this thought up ego can't see, can't hear, can't be aware, can't choose, hasn't got any power or any independent nature. So there's your problem straight away. The only problem you ever had was the belief in an ego, a self-centre or a reference point. And it was only me that could be unhappy, only me that could be fearful. But you've just seen it all pulled apart and there's nothing there. Realise that this ego is a fiction. Where are you going to live from if you recognise that? You'll recognise the living will be the same as it was for the first couple of years of your life. When you were hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, you had no words. And it's the same now. You're breathing, your heart's beating, your hair and fingernails are growing, your food's being digested. All naturally and effortlessly. Anyone doing it, any egoic entity doing that, anyone saying I've got to take my next breath or I'm going to beat my heart, you're not. It's all happening spontaneously. So that's all we point out here and ask you to look along those lines and see for yourself, as I pointed out before. Nobody's ever going to do it before you. Now you might have read this, studied that, looked at this and looked at that, thought about this, thought about that, and you've got many conceptual images. You've heard many stories and many beliefs, probably taken a lot on board. And this one's seemingly real and that one's seemingly real. But look again and see how real they are. And when people hear this, they want to hang on to some belief or some idea or some concept. It'll be, what about this, what about that? But all the time you're sitting there, that heart's beating without taking a single thought about it. You're taking a breath without thinking about it. All sorts of thought and chatter have been coming up in your head. You might fixate on some, you might let others go. But realising that living is spontaneous. There's no one there that can say that I am alive. But you can say that I am is life. That's what the Christ told you a couple of thousand years ago. He said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. Talking about it's through that sense of presence, the I amness, in recognising and investigating it, that you'll come to the truth, the way and the life. Come to recognise it and realise it. So you got any questions, or tell us some of you have studied it here or recognised it here and heard it before, and can put it in different words, which might be a bit clearer for you to understand. Some of you might be struggling, some of you mightn't have a bar of it or whatever it is, but it's up to you now. It's all yours. You can take it over from here. It's a short one. But always come back to the Satchitananda, being, knowing, loving to be, and the Nama Rupa, the name and the form. And the basic mantra, I am that. That is all there is. As I say, we know it in our language, that's a chair, that's a carpet. Before we learnt words and labelled a chair and carpet, it was that. And it still is that. You and I are that. Everything else is that, which we put labels on. The word. And taking the word to be real.
I heard Tassie use a really good phrase today. He says, I didn't tell myself anything about it. So when something comes to mind, but if you don't, the next step doesn't happen, you don't there's not a comment made about what just occurred. That's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really like the way you put it. It just really means a lot to me. Because that's how it is for me sometimes, if I'm lucky. yeah, I've really been noticing the whole body tense and then a package of some kind of thought story thing. But it's just this whole package goes into tension a lot of the time. It's just triggered into just the building up of the tension phase of a cycle, release and relaxation. And then today I was, because I was noticing it, the release was the noticing. Oh, that was just all tense, and then it drops again, and then it's all tense again, and just every little thing. But I noticed the release was just the noticing that had been happening.
And that's the way that nature functions, isn't it? Contracts and relaxes, contracts and relaxes. Heart expands and contracts. Breath inspire and expire.
And even if you're stuck in one a lot, it's still just natural.
Natural, spontaneous way of vibrating or expressing. Day and night, winter and summer. Sounds like a dig in a mine, shouldn't it?
They're very busy tonight. Dropping a bomb.
It's all part of the dual world, isn't it?
Yeah. It's all appearance. That's all the world is. We're successful.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Hasn't come round the corner yet.
I thought your sense of smell wasn't that good.
I thought so
It's
too.
not.
Uh-oh.
That's a meter to tell how powerful it is.
Who was calling the body shit factory? Was it Muktananda or someone?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. It's a very disrespectful way of looking at the body. You know, it's a miracle of life presenting itself in that form, but it's also very practical.
You can't avoid the truth.
Yeah.
It takes that I'm so special out of it, doesn't it?
think that Tony was mentioning, noticing the contraction. This is one of the probably the smartest practical way of realizing the change, the constant change. Because what we do for most of the time is we focus on the thinking, and the thinking has impact on the body, because the thinking would be most of the time personal and catastrophizing or whatever, something that usually is thinking about me or either poor me or great me or whatever. But when you can actually, and that's a gift if it happens, when you can shift the attention to the impact that thoughts have on the body, when you can sense the contraction, or you can sense the stress, or you can sense any sort of a body response to it, even the change in the breath, the attention right away is kind of shifted from the head to the body, and then the head doesn't get that much fuel, and the fire burns slowly out, and then the thought is not trouble anymore. And actually making it a habit to recognize what is going on in the mirror, in that transmitter receiver thing, is a fantastic help to actually just be more grounded in the present moment, because the bodily sensations are not that well available through the memory. They're actually happening right now. Like right now I can tell something about my breath. I can't tell much about how my breath was an hour ago. Or any sort of a contraction, any sort of, even if there is no contraction, just remembering to really focus on the muscles around the eyes, or the posture, the way you walk, any sort of a reminder about the body is a fabulous way to actually starve that fire burning in the head and just distribute that attention more evenly. Because instead of having it all in the head, it goes into the senses, because the body and its senses, that's what Bob is pointing when he says, the Buddhists are saying it, right? The being utterly awake with the senses wide open. An unfixated awareness. You want to pick up from here?
Yeah, be utterly awake with the five senses wide open. Like everybody's awake now when the five senses are hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling. And they're all going on in this moment. But how many of them are noticed? Most of it will be involved in the thinking, while the hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling are pushed in the background. So from that point of view, we're not living totally. Be utterly awake with the five senses wide open, be utterly open, where all the senses are functioning equally and being recognised equally. With unfixated awareness, we are not fixating on one to the exclusion of the others. And you see in that what you're saying before, it's all there, but it needs to be recognised. You've had taste of it all through your life, but it's lost sight of. And that's what I say, recognition, recognise. The more it's recognised, the more clarity is there. And the more it's recognised, the more it becomes a continuous cognising into it. But when we lose it and we get back into the head stuff again, it seems lost and out of the way, we're back in our old problems again. And that happens because we've reinforced those problems all our life. Not only us, but our schools around us, our parents, school teachers, and everybody else have reinforced it for us. And it's seemingly very strong and solid. But understand that's another thing we put on it. Something comes up and we'll say, this is a strong one. Well, this habit's a strong one. But there's only one power. There's only one power. Can this feeling or thought or whatever emotion be a strong one? If there's only one power. We're giving something a seeming power because we believe that it hasn't got. And we suffer accordingly because of all these splits we make. Continue to recognise it in its totality, no matter what. And see how much time you got then for fear, anxiety, stress, guilt, remorse, shame, any of those things. Those sensations might come up. Not fixated on, not given any stint. They can't last. Because it's all a spontaneous emanation. It's all continually transient, constantly changing. The manifestation is constantly changing. The basic essence it appears on has never changed, never can, and never will. There's no beginning, no end, no birth, no death, no shape, no form. Just there in its purity, uncontaminated or corrupted by anything that appears in it. Relax into that pure being that you are, and recognise that being as pure. You call yourself a human being. If you believe in a God, you'll call God a supreme being. What happens if you take that label supreme off and take the label human off and try and separate the beingness that's in this room? If you can't put a label on it and discriminate, there's just nothing but beingness in this room. Isn't that a fact? See for yourself. So what can you be other than that? You must be that. Because you haven't divorced yourself from the room or gone out there. Or even if you did, wherever you went, it'd be that pure being.
I suppose fixation comes back to what Tess was saying about you don't tell yourself anything about something, so there's a sound but you don't say anything about it, you know, there's something else comes to attention and nothing's made of it at all, you know, and then the next thing can come in and then it's not fixated. I guess that's that.
Yeah. Don't.
The other way to say it, you can say not only you don't tell yourself anything, because you don't really tell anything.
Yeah, I'm not meaning it like.
Yeah, I know,
yeah.
but the
Just
way that I would find more
nothing
precise to actually point at
Yeah.
the phenomenon is not only you don't tell yourself anything, but even if the thought does come up, it's not you telling it, but even if it does come up, you basically just ignore it. You just notice it and just next.
So the next step of not saying anything about it doesn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and even if it does happen, then
the
you
next
don't
step
have a
happen.
comment over
That
the
one.
comment.
Yeah, yeah, and so on and so on.
So you're not unhappy over your unhappiness, you're not judging your judgment.
Stop the analysis paralysis.
Yes.
Can you ask questions in this
Yeah, do it.
Do you think there's a use of the fact that you're using words to express yourself, and pointing to something that's beyond words is the same for thought? It has a use to point to something
Yes.
that is beyond thought.
Thought is not the enemy, understand that one. This room was an idea, one mind, in somebody's mind once, the computer, the television, all of that. It's not the enemy, but it needs to be understood. Where we believe we are the thought-up entity, the thought can be utilised. You know, all the famous inventions and all the rest that came up through the thought of somebody's mind once. The thing is, people said, I invented that. But could they have lifted a finger, turned a screw, drawn a line, or moulded it, if that life essence wasn't functioning, patterning through that body? It couldn't. It's a life essence that's utilising the body and the mind and expressing through the so-called mind, the brain and everything else. The life essence expressing through it and utilising that pattern, the human body and all other bodies. You have the use. But understand, you know, that the word's not the thing, and see, and you can use the word then, you know. And that's all what we do, man. We all use words.
Mm-hmm.
But when we let words use us by telling me I'm not good enough or I'm fearful, or I shouldn't be saying that, or what'll they think of me?
Just like we use the finger to point the moon, but we don't touch it.
To what you were saying before about you moved on to sensations from, you know, our seeing the tense body and the package of the words, and they just all a package.
Yeah.
But it's kind of quite nice in a way when that happens, because in a way, you know, you talk about steps sometimes, but going to the sensation is like a step to reveal something. But it's kind of nice when the whole habit starts to be seen as a package, because then it's like disintegrating more, because that's habitually what comes in, the typical patterns of words and body. And it's quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the shift back to, for me anyway, the shift back to sensation is often more of a interim step away from busy mind or something. It doesn't necessarily reveal the persistent patterns as much, but it's still very useful when it pops up, you know.
But that's
break.
exactly what it is. It's actually it's not a step towards, it's step away from.
Yeah.
Like if you are completely engrossed in a story in the mind, you are in the I don't know how many layers of a dream over a dream, and then you step back to the reality of the senses, and then you step back to the awareness of the reality of the senses, and yet you still, you know, it's like you step back till you're left with nothing.
It's like a break, yeah, it's a reset, takes you to nothing there, but when you're actually starting to see how something keeps coming in and then it goes to nothing, that's quite cool, because it's the habits are starting to really be.
But isn't that looking at a conceptual idea again?
No, actually not.
No?
No, it's experience that comes up.
Yeah.
It's just that, just like it.
Because it seems to me the sensations, like that's the natural living of the body, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
that's what we experience
Yeah.
of the body.
And
And thinking is just another sensation, if you like.
yeah, we label it thinking, we label it fear. All these sensations are labelled.
It's the ocean
But
waving.
what about pre-sense?
What about
Pre-sense,
pre-sense?
before you've labelled the sense.
Oh, present, sorry.
Presence.
Yeah.
Before you've labelled the sense, pre.
Yeah, just touching on what you said, I heard, well, maybe it's not touching on that,
Yeah,
I heard something like using the form to transform the form. So using the form of the body, the stillness of the body as an experience to transform.
yeah, you just sort of see it doing its thing more, but I guess
Sense
it reveals.
Sense it, don't you, maybe?
Yeah, it's
See it, feel
it's
it,
just
see it.
tension, like you've said, there's tension and
Quality, maybe.
some stories, some phrases, and it's just sometimes you see the environment actually triggering it in. Sometimes it's just already started.
Well, the very word transform.
I mean, isn't that what happens? I mean, there is an awareness that the mind comes in and chatters about this and comes up with a story about it. But in actual fact, this is a bit just like watching a movie of Cole,
Yeah.
and this has got no control over that whatsoever.
Yeah.
It just happens. And so this stops really talking about it, because it realises that there's no, it's just a story, it's just an appearance. And when that happens, the agenda, all the agenda drop. There isn't anywhere to go. There isn't anything to say. And sometimes I'll sit here and I think, well, I'm not really quite sure why I'm here, you know. I mean, I am, but you know.
Best movie in town.
Well, that's right.
Yeah. Well, that's good, Cole. That was good.
Yeah, even though you're not quite sure you're there, you can't negate yourself, can you? You can't negate it.
Yeah,
What it is, you can't say.
yeah.
Surveying everything, strong around.
Cat's not really sure why it's here either. Just turned up one day.
The cat's providing all the pointers tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
The cat is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are abiding in a natural state. They're not
Absolutely.
relating to the me of the memory, which is an ego.
And they're not objectifying. They're
And
just
yeah,
flowing.
and they are not
Presence.
judging or entertaining themselves with the story about things. It's amazing how the cats are completely with their body all the time. They had this special fur, I don't know how it is called in English, but this big, longer white furs. And when the cat lie down, it can sense every movement of the air. Like you can pass and you move the air, and the cat is totally, fully aware of the body. And it seems like it's sleeping, but it's totally alert also. And they're fascinating creatures, how here now they are, how present, fully present they are. And they have phenomenal hearing and phenomenal sense of smell. Like they can sense when I'm coming home a few minutes before I'm coming. They must hear parking the scooter in the garage. Or Bob says they always give me away. They run to this door or the other door
They
when
know.
I'm about to come. Yes, they can sense it. But because they don't distract themselves from the senses, they don't sit in a head and have the stories about things. They just fully awake.
Years ago, I was in LA, and I flew in on my way to Orlando to work, and I was sleeping in my girlfriend's bed, and this voice said, "There's going to be an earthquake, you'll be okay. The airport will be closed, but you'll get the flight in the following afternoon." That's exactly what happened. But the first thing that happened was the two cats that were on the bed, me and my friend jumped under the bed, and they picked it up 10 minutes before the earthquake actually happened.
The tsunami.
So they knew
Yeah.
already, which is amazing.
Yeah, but with tsunami,
And it was an
many
intense
wild
earthquake.
animals are
The ceiling
running
cracked
away.
and- yeah, so
Yeah.
it's kind of
In the fires
Interesting.
also.
Only dogs howl an hour before an earthquake.
so that's, I think, maybe it's not even a question of that they are connected, they are one.
Oh
They're
yeah,
absolutely in tune. There's no one
totally.
to connect. It's just the one.
Yeah, and
Yes,
so
yes,
are we.
And
We
that-
just
and that
habitually distract.
knowledge. You know, it's like the Aboriginals. They could read, you know, what fish was coming into the ocean by seeing a particular flower open on a particular day. So somehow that wisdom translated, and that was all the one moving within
Yeah.
the one microcosm,
Dogs
which
have,
is amazing. I
Yes,
think it's
yeah.
amazing.
dogs still have
that
better hearing than us, but
nature,
they're just more tuned in.
the
more of
connection. So it's not even pausing or interpreting, or it just is. It's
Yeah.
just all connection
Yeah.
in one.
Pointing out that everything is one essence pattern
Yeah.
and expressing it as everything.
Yeah.
I had an Aboriginal teacher. I was talking to her about exactly that, and I was talking to her about how I really like being with nature. And she was saying, not being with nature, you are nature.
You are
Yes.
nature.
Don't be nature, you are nature.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's like there's no me in this room that gets
Yeah.
this.
It's
Yeah.
And if a me thinks they got it, they didn't get
and we
it.
go into it to be with it. They are it.
To be with it,
They
be.
are it.
They are
Uh-huh.
it. Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. How did you land up at Bob's?
I've heard about Bob for a long time.
And you live in Melbourne?
Yep.
Okay. So the intelligence picked you up and brought you
Yeah, people have told me
dropped
about
you.
it. A friend showed me a photo with him on Saturday night,
Nice.
so I thought I'll come.
Beautiful.
Still trying to digest what he said for an hour.
You have to come a few times to do that.
And it's a good thing actually not to digest it. It's because analyzing, how did you say it, Bob? Thinking, what?
Analysis paralysis.
Oh yeah,
Analysis
paralysis.
or the answer's not in the mind.
Yeah.
You need
Yeah,
to know
that's-
enough to know the language of the pointers, but after that, you
But
don't.
yeah, the truth is very often the mind is kicking in and it has to exhaust itself before it shut down and get off the way. So
Yeah.
we do try to work out everything
Well, that's
until
why
we
I
don't.
asked the question around, I think I'm okay with the spoken word, but the internal, like what thought to use to point you in the direction,
Yeah.
you know, and what direction is that?
Just
For
recognize
what
mental
reason?
noise as mental noise and leave it be.
Yeah, I suppose I'm more asking from a path of like presence, awareness, detachment, non-dualism, all these theories that are new, like they're words, they get
Yes.
interpreted, so you need to make some sort of sense of them, otherwise they're just another word, so they point to something.
Yeah, you want to have clarity about what the
Sure.
concept
Yeah.
is before.
You haven't done your pause of thought today, have you? The pause of thought and what's wrong. Did you bring up
Not
those?
yet, no.
That's the
Not
key.
yet. They will come.
That's the
Yeah,
key.
but you're right. We totally have to have vocabulary that we
It's
agree
important.
on the language, because there's so many fights over many. Even if you look at the religions, people kill each other about God because their God is
About a belief.
Dogma. Yeah.
dogma. Yeah.
Dogma.
So to agree on the language that with this word we represent or we mean that, that's helpful. Without that,
Yeah.
there's no
Think-
point.
Thing to do is recognise the art of listening.
Yeah.
Most of our listening comes from head to head. You'll have a concept about me, I'll have a concept about you when we start talking. Doesn't get through. But when we talk about listening from the heart, and they're not talking about the physical heart, because that's not going to do anything to you, but the heart being the core of your being, or the centre of the spirit. And you know what a heart to heart is, because you've heard somebody pouring out a sad tale to you, and you were relating to somebody who said, my heart went out. In other words, you opened up and resonated with what was being said. And then there's communication. That's when communication happens. Open up and let that resonation happen. And the words will take on a different meaning altogether, a different mind.
But I was going to say, but I'm grateful that I could give all my butts to you, Bob. Because the mind is a very strong.
I've
you
given-
know,
beat you
I'm
up.
really grateful that I could give
I've
my
given up-
butts to Bob. Because you
I'm
know you're
trying to
like
tell
chipping
you.
away, chip, 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 chip.
I gave up smoking years ago. I don't want any butts.
Seriously.
But there's something incredibly powerful to reveal. It's like turn every stone, you know, not leave anything behind, even the trickle of doubt or anything. Just expose it, open it, surrender, and that's powerful. So, yeah,
And realise that, recognise
come with emptiness and don't hide anything.
Yes.
No
Recognise
agenda.
how natural and effortless it is.
Yes, and then it's simple, but there's the appearance. It's not true, but there is an appearance of burning or a process of some kind.
And under every stone is what's there when you're not thinking about it.
Yeah, that's ultimately
That's
the
it.
answer. But on the beginning, yes, that answer is it may be a little bit too confronting. Like if someone comes with the with the story of personal trauma or some problems they're
Yeah,
hungry or their
that's
children
true.
or whatever, and you tell them what's true if you don't think about it. It's valid, but it's not sustainable
Yeah.
Yeah.
because the
Give that
obsession
brief.
is
Exactly.
too strong.
Yeah, this is what it's about though, but even though it takes a
Mm.
long time for that to reveal more often,
Yeah,
it
that's
is
true.
what it's about, is what it is about. Yeah.
Yet, absolutely, the thing that Bob offers every time, this is the compassion, this is the heart. Every time you are offered completely full answer, not that you're gonna serve the guru for 12 years by shoveling the
Mm.
and then you will be told that you are that. No, you are being told that right from the beginning. But on the beginning you usually can't hear it. On the beginning you have to have all the buts and answered questions from the mind. But still, whenever he gets a chance, he will remind you what's wrong with right now if you don't think about it. Ah, nothing. Oh my God. So the problem and everything that is wrong comes only from thinking.
What's interesting though is that just about everybody can do that one. Just about everyone. Maybe I've heard one person who says that doesn't work for them. But practically everyone who comes in the room can do that pause of thought and see what's left, and it's like, well, it's just this or just a visual or whatever. That's pretty powerful. I think that just about everybody has access to that. You know, the reality of it.
True.
Even for that moment.
Well, there's nothing simpler, is it? What can you say without a thought?
That's true. Yeah.
Do you have a formal practice anymore of meditation, or was that a part of your life?
It was a part of my life, and then left behind a long time ago. I went through all the usual things for years and years and years, searching sincerely and earnestly. And when it dawned on me that the answer's not in the mind, because we look at these things and we're intelligent people. And why haven't we found it? Why haven't we found it? It might just dawn on us and did on me, but maybe I'm looking in the wrong direction. I've been looking in the mind all these years and trying to work it out, but I couldn't find it there. And when you ask yourself, what way is there out of the mind? And you always say, the only way out of the mind is full stop. Whatever way I go in the mind will always be in the mind. Whatever thought or idea. The only way out of thought is full stop. Just don't go there. It doesn't mean to say that thoughts won't continue to come up, they'll come up, but you'll see that actually get the real meaning out of a lot of what you couldn't get before.
Yeah, and to get the real meaning actually is even helpful to do that little survey through the life. Like I was searching through the most traumatizing moments of my life to actually check if that's true, that if I don't think about it there's no problem. Like I was driving the ship and suddenly on the ocean going to port, the ship was empty, there was no fuel anywhere in the tanks, there was nearly no draft, and I got the command to turn the ship, and I did turn it 2 degrees just to avoid the situation, and then I got pushed, no, turn it properly. So I turned 5 degrees and the ship started healing and healing and healing, and things started falling off the shelves and people started falling on the floor, and it was clear and evident for everyone that the ship is going to capsize and we're not going to get out. And in this moment, if I ask myself what's wrong with right now if I don't think about it, and there is no thought of catastrophe, of dying or getting over or being finished, what I find out, and what I did find out in that moment investigating further, yes, there will be a sensation. If I don't think about it, I won't call it fear. There will be breathing going on. There will be holding on to something as the ship is healing and trying to capsize. Sure, the situation wouldn't be comfortable if I had the words to call it comfortable or uncomfortable. But without the story in the head, this is the moment as it is, and there is no problem. It is just the situation as it is. Or many other situations in my life when my ex-husband broke his neck and it wasn't very, very clear that he's going to make it. It was quite probable that he's not. And many, many other situations where you kind of like, even without thoughts, I'm being locked in a container in Nigeria with the two black guys with the guns pointing at me. Of course there is a problem even if I don't think about it. Really? And then I checked the life through all these situations, and no, there wasn't. There really wasn't. There was breathing going on, seeing was going on. The content of the seeing was dark container or whatever. The hearing was going on and the content was whatever. But without the story that there is a problem, even if that was I was about to take my last breath and I was about to be shot or raped or whatever. So what's the problem if I don't think about it? People dying every day, animals dying every day. That's what's happening. Without the story of it, it's just breathing in and breathing out and not breathing in again. What's the problem without the story? And now if I project it further to the whole life, of course a lot of shit is gonna go. Like if I'm gonna live a little bit longer, everything is gonna show up again. And if I won't call it a problem, and if I won't compare it with the situation that I would prefer or I think it should be there, not a problem. Every situation and every moment is totally livable. It's just the content of 5 senses happening and being known by the basic screen or the awareness.
Okay, Kat. So this is my problem with that. You know, like, and I know this is the mind working, but you know, somebody's child runs out into the road, and a truck runs over them, and they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an appropriate thing to say to them. You know, they want compassion. They want.
Well, you wouldn't say
No,
That's what.
the completely opposite is being said. What's wrong with right now if you don't think and talk about it? If you do think and talk about it, you run into a trouble. You go and you tell the mother of a child that was just killed that, oh no, don't worry about it. That's thinking and talking. So you shut up.
They're still not showing compassion. Don't think about it.
Yeah, that's what you said,
See,
you shouldn't
showing
say it.
compassion is to just shut up. Don't tell her anything. Don't
No, I
teach
didn't say
her
it was.
anything.
I didn't say it was. I said to tell somebody in a situation like that if you don't think about it, where's the problem? I don't think that's, you know, I just.
But
look,
you
it's not
have to
important,
tell
you know.
yourself, not
Huh?
others.
Pardon?
The thing is, see, the whole thing about the quote is what's wrong with right now if I don't think about it.
There's nothing wrong
It's
with
not
the quote.
what's wrong with
It's
right now when
perfect.
you don't think about it, or you. It's none of my business what problems you are thinking. This is about me. The whole thing is about me. So if my child was killed under the truck, now and someone will tell me don't think about it, I would say fuck off, mind your own business.
Yeah, that's right.
But if I say it, that's a different
Yeah, well,
story.
that's fair enough. That's okay.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, the what's matter with right now, don't think about it. It's for you, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not for
Yes,
someone else.
if
Okay,
I
I see
don't
what you're
think
saying.
about
Yeah.
it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, but good point. I like that you are coming from compassion and from
Yeah.
worrying for other
yeah,
people
Yeah.
and trying to clear it as much as
Yeah.
possible.
Okay.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay. Yeah.
With a situation like that, there's a spontaneous activity anyway. There's nobody thinking about it really. You do things and you wonder, how the hell did I do that? Why did I do that? You know, because it's spontaneous. You hear people like that run up to cars when they tipped over and rip open the door. They couldn't rip open, you know, if they tried ordinarily. They got super strength and do all sorts of different things like that. They're not thinking what I'm going to do. They're just doing it.
Yeah, sure.
And people don't know what they're gonna do. They think they know, but they don't.
No, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, people also think they know what they're gonna think, and they don't.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. That's the adventure.
I think your body changes when the thought goes as well. Your body functions much more naturally. So
Yeah.
grief is still there in say a situation like that. Without the thought, your body still feels absent. So
Oh, absolutely. Even the body of cats and dogs, they are threatened when they lose the sibling.
Yeah.
Or the parrot, the other one will die if the.
That's right, but without the disease, like Bob talks about, it's it's a natural functioning.
Yeah.
You know, like an animal, like you said, if an animal loses a child
Yeah.
or a offspring, whatever you call it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're
like
still aware of the absence.
Yeah.
they
There's
also
there's
get
no
hormones.
personal-
Yeah.
They get
Yeah.
oxytocin, like cow. That the children of cows are being taken away so we can have milk. They actually get bigger release of oxytocin than human mothers.
Mm.
So the pain coming from the hormonal structure of the body is comparably
Well, it's the
larger.
natural functioning,
Yes.
without the thought.
Mm.
Yeah, shifting some cushions one day, I was just too tired and in good space too, I wasn't thinking much. And I wasn't thinking, and then, oh my God, they've been shifted so quickly and so well. I just like see it, it was just happening like that. It was cool.
What do you call? We're saying that that people you can't tell people this or that. I got a question under one of the videos. A friend that I met a year ago, he asks, "What do you mean that we can't teach you anything or we can't tell you anything?" It makes no sense. Of course, people can teach each other things and tell each other things, but he just missed out on that one word when Bob says we don't teach anybody here and we don't tell anybody anything here. Doesn't mean we walk out of the door, we can teach, we can learn, dancing, singing, whatever. But here, and this is really the point, this is when we say that you've got to really investigate for yourself, you've got to find the answer for yourself, you can't give anyone the answer. Even offering somebody who is suffering or not suffering, unsolicited satsang is actually is arrogant. Because this type of things, someone who is to listen to it, their heart has to be in it. Otherwise they will find much more of a solace and ease in whatever religion, promise of heaven and hell or whatever. Every pattern is so different, and respecting that they may have different needs and different tastes means not to actually force non-duality to anyone. That's why Bob never goes and advertise himself, or he doesn't speak to people in a tram about it, or if unless he's asked, this is something that shouldn't be, and particularly in a situation when someone lost somebody. Oh gosh.
It's interesting, it's you hear things, and mostly I think I sort of understand them, but sometimes I mishear, and you it's nothing to do with this, or this. It's to do with what I hear as a sort of a blanket statement, and it actually doesn't apply. And I've assumed that it's meant to apply, and I think, no.
and that's brilliant, because you see this is life. If you mishear something and you bring it up in public, and then there are people watching us, some people in Europe or in America, they may have the same quote, the same question. We don't know why this answer or this question comes up, but it always is not what we think it is. It's always much broader perspective, and this is very important clarification. That's why Bob often says, ask questions. There are no stupid questions. They all clarify something. Sometimes you hear yourself saying something, and it sounds ridiculous. And you don't even know, why would I even say such a thing? And then suddenly I hear someone responding to it, because they have strange way of resonating with strange sorts of words. And those are not my words. That's just life expressing. And who knows what is it for? So it's perfect.
You're saying that there were a few months there where you didn't say much, but everything you thought of, somebody else would bring it up.
Oh yeah, it was happening. Oh my gosh, I was actually practicing not opening up my mouth. I wanted to just shut up and listen, and it never worked because it's not really up to me. But very often I would just wait. The strong urge to communicate something would show up, and I would just ignore it and wait, and somebody else would pick it up because it is really all frequency. This is all just vibrating patterns of energy, and thoughts are vibrating patterns of energy. Very often Bob would just open the mouth after a couple of minutes of silence and say exactly the same thing that I was trying not to. So it was, the life wanted it to be heard, it wanted to show up. Whether I do it or whoever else, who cares? It's just one life.
Like and Sunday someone brought up something about trauma, and about 3 or 4 people trained in that area in the room. It was just weird. There was just that
amazing.
group in there,
Yeah.
A few little things like that. I remember once, I mean, this stuff often used to be called the understanding, yeah? I mean, yeah, understanding is what we're doing. We're talking about the understanding. So how do you deal with the understanding? Okay, what do you do? Do you use your heart or your hands? You use this. And you know, then, so this is the understanding, but the answer isn't up here. That's very confusing.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, this is the word on which we all agree that it has different meaning.
Yeah.
We are talking about non-conceptual understanding, and the understanding that you are, even if you don't think about it.
Yeah, but
and that's not in the head. Your head doesn't know anything about the fact of your being.
Yeah.
It's that last one for me, that point you made about full stop. Like I don't know where to go from there. That's
Perfect.
Perfect.
That's it.
Yes, that's it.
Full stop.
That's it.
It's so simple, but the mind does. The mind goes back.
Yeah, because I've got like a sitting practice, so I'm sort of like, and it's not a controlled practice. It's just sitting and I'm just wondering whether, because my mind is still extremely active, whether I need to do more. There it is, the story again.
But when the full stop, you couldn't go any further.
But the feeling comes.
So that might come up
Bob
from
says
there.
that the feeling came up to go and see Sigadana after years of sitting, and then it's just a natural.
Yeah, I think recently Adi Shanti, which people may be familiar with, like listening to him was been meditating for a long time and using all these different types of methods, but he just spoke of sitting without, just forget about the meditator, just forget about any sort of method, just sit, and that was, that's that full stop.
Yeah,
Just
in Japanese Zen they call it shikantaza. Just sit, do nothing.
Yeah, I think Tibetan as well have shinya,
Mm.
sort of thing.
Tree gazing, I don't know that.
But it was just, it was quite interesting just sitting there with no sort of method and watching what the mind.
Doesn't matter what they call it, do it.
Yeah.
It'll come up to be done.
Yeah, and they say you actually, that's not a practice really, because you're not going to arrive at anything. You just basically,
Not seeking.
you just are. Yeah.
For me, it's sitting on transport and not picking up my phone or my book, and then seeing if I was storing for the last 20 minutes. Well, I mean, that just comes up. Shit, I was storing for the last 20 minutes. But there's still no urge to pick up the phone or book. That's noted, and that's that.
Yeah, it's almost like you do that sitting for real life, when the real life is the sitting,
Yes.
you know, instead of having this sort of like,
Preparation.
yeah, it probably helps and supports, but taking that boundary away and realising just do it,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Bob calls it non-distracted, non-meditation. So the life becomes meditation.
You can move it from the living room to the toilet to the train. You know, eventually there's a few more things going on. You can't have just a bit of that.
To what's right for one person
You know, might not be for someone else.
It's funny when I look over that side of the room, a word comes up and I don't make any meaning of it. I don't know why. It's just probably where I was fixed when that conversation was happening, but it was just like words could come up and I'm always probably making meaning of them because this mind isn't very good at seeing the difference between labelling and not labelling. And but yeah, I can really see that a word's coming up and nothing's done with it. You know, that's quite clear. In those moments when that got noticed.
Yeah, and when you see that sometimes the words come and nothing is done with them, and sometimes the words come and things are done with them, and this is both equally unimportant because this is both equally just content of the dream, just content of thinking. It's like it doesn't matter whether you see more objects in the seeing than less objects, and it doesn't matter whether you hear more sounds or you hear less sounds. So now you've got the words coming up and there is no another layer of meaning made of them, and that kind of feels like now it's better because it's more silent or it's more quiet, but it's not really.
I don't really do that, but I was just thinking, what do I do? You're making me think of that while you're saying it. I think what it does is it shines the torch more fully on the non-meaning making, and that becomes less interesting than the TV or the other distractions. Daydreaming.
Oh yeah, I honestly admit I do have preference to the silence over the chatter. Right now, this is what is happening. When I hear more of a silence, there is more of appreciation to the silence.
Yeah, it's like a natural appreciation, but there's no comment that it's better. Yeah, there's not even a thought that it's better. There's just an.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's enjoyable, and that's just what it is, and there's just nothing more than that. Yeah, there's no comparing to something else.
Yeah.
But you get all the time, I just get it occasionally, and that's alright. That's like you were saying, yeah. There's no different value in either.
Yeah, because in either, that's just the content. That's just like a content of hearing. But yeah, well, I don't particularly enjoy the noise, loud noise of the tractors coming or vacuum cleaners or whatever. So what? It doesn't matter.
It's just an incident that happened.
There's such a warm smile.
It's bemused right now.
Bob, how would you define compassion? You know, Cole was talking about compassion. What is compassion, really?
Yeah, because I find compassion a hard word to work out too.
Yeah, is that not related to an I? Isn't that someone's idea of moral?
I think it's
It's a part of functioning. We have mirror neurons in the brain, and those mirror neurons basically work as an empathy. Yeah. So if you see
but empathy is not compassion. Empathy is relative.
Yes, but then empathy steers compassion. When you look at someone and you see someone crying or being in pain,
that's my question. What is compassion?
Response to empathy. It's a part of functioning.
Well, it depends how you define it. You know, like compassion, spelled with a capital C, it's got no direction or anything. It's non-dualistic.
So it's emptiness, really.
It's allied to love, isn't it? It's sort of like, I mean, you know, what happens, you know, like sometimes love arises, doesn't it? It doesn't arise towards anything, there's just love, there's nothing else, it's one, it's, and you know, and in the same way, compassion does, I mean, because when real compassion arises, the mind's not active. There isn't a me. When compassion arises, there's just that. You know. Now, if the mind thinks about it, the mind comes in. Then there's me, who's being compassionate over this, and then that's dualistic. Yeah. So it depends how you talk about it.
Okay, Bob wants to say something. Say
Oh.
something.
The natural compassion will arise, but when we put a label on it, that's what we've done. Put a label on it and try and look for the meaning.
Yeah, and agree on the
But
meaning
in
also.
in the actual activity, it can be described as compassion or whatever. Like any word.
Mhm.
Word's never the thing. Description's never to describe. The map's not the territory.
I was thinking about it today, and I suppose if the mirroring isn't happening, you know, I'd have a little thought, oh, I must be not terribly compassionate at all, because they felt that and it didn't mirror here at all. So does that mean there's just not enough space and therefore the mirroring isn't happening, or, you know, or maybe some conditioning isn't there, which is a good, you know, it's an empty thing, and
Oh yeah,
with
it's
conditioning,
many
mirroring
factors.
happens, you know.
You know, there are people who are kind of missing that mirror neurons. They're called psychopaths. But that's not their fault. It's the machinery, it's the algorithm in the computer there that is missing.
But if
And it
someone's
is-
lonely, I don't think I can mirror it, because I never ever felt lonely.
Yeah, also there is an experience going on. Yeah, sure. You can only
Mhm.
mirror what you experienced. Or
If
you will
you are-
project
if you are-
something.
If you are the totality, how can you ever be lonely?
Yeah, true. It's just one. I guess that's one conditioning that don't have, you know, but most of the rest of society do, and I get all autistic. But I'm really grateful for not having lonely. I tried to feel it a couple of times.
So you're really an axe murderer, are you?
That's one thing though.
And so is Bob.
I've never had the desire to really kill things. Never. So when people say, "Oh, it's
What
the
a
dark side of
mosquito.
me," I'm worried about it. I'm like, I'm never worried about it. Yeah.
I've killed many mosquitoes in India.
Well, I accidentally drown a lot of insects, but I don't mean to. And then I'm like, oh God, I wasn't really compassionate right then because I really didn't want to kill them, but I just got lazy and they were just half drowned and my body just kept drowning them.
But if you don't take credit for anything, then
Yeah.
then it doesn't really matter anymore. Because life through this body expresses as an urge to kill mosquito, and through this body
Yeah.
as no urge to kill mosquito, but no doer anywhere.
But with mice and insect, I'll catch them, put them outside, you know, and kill them.
Oh, you haven't been in India, must be.
Yeah.
Because that place, oh boy, no matter how enlightened you are.
That big.
And if you get like 10,000 of them, like totally covered, and you
Right,
sleep
nice.
under the net, and
Yeah.
they still
Mosquitoes.
find a way, and they bite so badly.
Oh, I did go on a wee mosquito rampage in Australia, yeah.
Mm.
That's true.
And some of them get that big, they'll lift up the net and carry you out.
That's whatever's naturally happening, isn't it?
Thank you.
Whatever's
Thanks, Bob.
naturally
Thanks,
happening,
Bob.
Thank you,
yeah.
hon.
Thank you.